created the music. Anything that makes a sound can be recorded and sold. In fact, Jack Holzman, the founder of Elektra Records, talks about the earliest successes on his label, on the Elektra label, being records of sound effects. Car crashes, telephone bells, door slamming, that kind of thing. George Martin, the producer of the Beatles, before he started producing the Beatles, one of the things he produced that had the most successful comedy records. So how did the music business and the record industry come together? Well, go back to the 30s and the 40s, the pop groups of the day were dance bands. The star musicians of the day were band leaders, people like Benny Goodman and Glenn Miller. And if you wanted to see them play, you went to a ballroom. Glenn Miller, you went to see Glenn Miller, and this is in Baltimore, the Hippodrome Ballroom. And you went to see them, they were playing for dancing. So, the successful musicians of the day were the ones who had jobs playing in dance bands. The successful singers of the day were the ones who had jobs as singers in dance bands. Frank Sinatra was the singer with the Tommy Dorsey Orchestra. Now, the record companies came along and recorded some of these bands and sold the records to their fans. And the bands were thrilled about this. Why? Because this was a souvenir for their fans. The fan could go and see it in the ballroom one night, and the following day could go to a record store, buy a record to take home and play at home. And of course, it was a poor substitute for the live appearance, but at least it was something that kept the name and the music of the band fresh in the fan's mind until the band came into town next time. It was a marketing tool, and it was helping promote the artist's career. And then the record companies found that if they got their records played on the radio, they could sell more copies. And what the bands found was that if records got played on the radio, more people came to the gigs. And this was even better news. This was a really great arrangement for them, because somebody was promoting their gigs. The record was a marketing tool. The record company was a marketing company for their career. It's a great arrangement. They weren't concerned about royalties. They were just wanting the record out to market their career. Of course, as record sales increased, record business became competitive. One company started paying a royalty, then they all started paying a small royalty. And by the early 60s, young musicians of the time, Eric Clapton, Paul McCartney, Keith Richards, they played in bands that were working in clubs. And they wanted record deals. Not to make money out of records, but to market their career. And then a funny thing happened. Record sales started to increase. In fact, between 1985 and the year 2000, record sales increased more than 3 times. So what did this mean? Well, what it meant was that successful musicians were getting some extra income. In fact, substantial extra income from selling what were to them essentially marketing tools. They were selling records and videos and t-shirts and making a nice income out of it to supplement, their live performing. What this also did, it created a phenomenon. It created the recording artist. And what is a recording artist? A recording artist is someone who makes so much money out of selling records and t-shirts and videos that they don't need to perform. So then what happened? Well, in the year 2000, as quickly as they've gone up, records started dropping off. So in the 10 years after the year 2000, record sales halved. Now, Everybody has a theory about why this is. But it doesn't really matter what the theory is. The fact of the matter is, it's over. Massive record sales are over. They were a fashion. Fad. For a while it was fashionable for the greater public to buy records and play them at home. And it's become unfashionable. Now, if that's because of the technology and the internet, well, so be it. That's progress. We live in an era of great technological change. And in every business, you have to adapt to changes in technology. You have a choice. You adapt or you die. And the fact that record sales have gone down doesn't mean that the public's interest in music has gone down. It hasn't. They just don't want to buy records anymore. In fact, the internet has created, and the new technology has created, a plethora of new avenues where people can go and listen to music. And all the evidence is that people are listening to more music than they ever did. And they're more interested in listening to music than they ever were. And more interested in going to shows than they ever were. In this period of 10 years when record sales plummeted, you guys know this, ticket sales went up. It's as if the public was saying, you know, we recognize now that the record is actually a marketing tool, is a poor substitute for the real thing, and we'd actually rather spend our money on buying tickets than on buying records. And what does this mean to everybody involved? Well, to the record company, of course, it means a lot. It means the record business isn't such a good business anymore. It's still a great business, but not as good as it was. To the recording artist, who depends entirely for their income on record sales, it's a big deal. If they can't perform, they're in big trouble. What does it mean to the musician? Well, not a lot really, because the only musicians who are making it are the really successful ones. And they have a great living playing live. So, hey, you know, it was nice getting those royalty checks, but, you know, it was a 30-year blip in a 1,000-year history. And it was kind of, hey, it was nice while it lasted. But now, you know, the live music business is better. They're making more money on the road. And they're doing what they always wanted to do, which is to play music live. It's their life. And to young musicians, it's all good news. Because the new musicians weren't making any money out of record sales. And the only thing which is of interest to the young musician is getting his music out. And with all these new avenues of to hear music, this is all good news for him. And the new technology has given him, put into his control the power of getting his music onto these media. He doesn't have to depend on record companies in the future. And new technology has given him other ways of building his career. The only thing we have to remind musicians of is that it's an incredibly competitive business. Only the best succeed. And he better spend most of his time in the rehearsal room getting really good at what he does, because no amount of social media will help his career if he isn't really good on stage. So, the music business is alive and well. Better than it's ever been. The musician belongs to one of the oldest and most respected professions in the world. And of those people who are privileged to earn their living out of working with musicians, really the only person who is essential to the musician is the promoter. Because the promoter provides the link between the musician and his audience. He provides the stage. And festivals have developed tremendously since kids were wallowing in mud in Woodstock. Festivals in the late 60s and early 70s were one-time events run by opportunistic promoters, often not very well. And who could have known that 40 years later, festivals, there will be hundreds of festivals which are annual events in dozens of countries around the world. And the festivals have become an important mainstay of the concert performing business. And I want to urge you to remember that you, as festival organisers, music festival organisers, you're not on the periphery of the music business. You are central and integral to the music business. And you have a lot of power. A youngster's first experience of live music could be going to one of your festivals, and you could convert it into a lifetime concert goer. A young band who gets an opportunity at one of your festivals, that could be a life-changing opportunity for him. Could jumpstart his career. So festivals are really an essential part, an integral part of the future of the music business. And I've enjoyed being here the last couple of days. I've been into a number of meetings, and I've been and met some of you, and I've been terribly impressed by your professionalism, and by your passion. And I feel very confident that the future of the live performing music business is in very good hands. I've enjoyed being here the last couple of days. I've enjoyed talking to you this afternoon. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity.